We have Russ Moore, Go Local Hot or Not columnist, to come in and break down who's up and who's down in Rhode Island this week.
What's going on?
Russ, thanks for coming in. What a difference a week makes, huh?
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Well, I know that we were talking a lot of basketball, March Madness. We had high hopes last week for URI. Friday was good. Sunday they came close, but you still put them on the hot list.
Absolutely. It wasn't much of a disappointment. They beat a higher-seeded Creighton team, and they really acquitted themselves well against Oregon. They should have won the game, but a few bad calls at the end might have cost them. So
you're going to blame the referees? You're going to put the referees on the not hot list?
Yes. Yeah, the referees definitely not hot this week.
The referees on the not hot list.
We'll go with that.
Go Local had put, and Joe Calabro put out things to watch for the team next year. Do you have high hopes for the URI men's basketball team next year?
I mean, why not? They got a lot of momentum they can build on. It seems like the coach, Mr. Hurley, finally got things figured out towards the end of the year, and I don't see why the future isn't bright at Rhode Island.
Do you see any potential? I don't know how contracts work. Could he be lured away?
There is a rumor out there that Georgetown could be looking at Coach Hurley. But
with Thompson gone.
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to happen. It's only a rumor right now, and I think it's going to stay a rumor. It's not easy to win at Georgetown, as Coach Thompson proved. So I think Coach Hurley is in a better spot here than he would be there.
Well, again, lots of talk of buzz during March Madness if there's a coach shuffle, but we're going to look for URI next year.
Of course.
Put him on the hot list.
Absolutely.
Plenty of good basketball, even though no more Rhode Island teams.
No, but still a lot of good games to watch.
Speaking of things going on here in Rhode Island, big shakeup at the State House this week.
Yeah,
and
big
you
news.
put both the Senate President and her successor on the hot list.
Well, when you get a job that pays roughly $300,000 a year, I don't know about you, but I think most Rhode Islanders would agree that's pretty hot. That's a good thing. She's not going to be on easy street. So yeah, I definitely think that good for former Senate President Teresa Paiva-Weed. And say what you want about her, but she did have a scandal-free tenure. And I think there's something to be said about that in Rhode Island. I think you agree.
To be said about the scandal-free tenure.
Yes, that high up in the legislature.
And you put her successor, Senator Ruggiero.
Sure, Senator Ruggiero, hot. He's now in charge of the Senate, and it's a powerful position. It's a co-equal branch of government to the House of Representatives. We all make a big deal out of what Speaker Nicholas Mattiello's doing, what he's not doing, what he thinks. But let's face it, the Senate...
You're co-equal?
They're co-equal branches of government. They are. They have just as much say. So, I mean, Senator Ruggiero's got a lot of power, and I have been encouraged by some things that he's done as of late, particularly his support of bringing Norwegian Air to Providence, direct flights to Europe. I think that's a good thing. It shows that he's pro-Rhode Island and pro-Rhode Island jobs, and hopefully that's a trend that will continue as he begins his tenure as Senate President.
Do you think we'll see much difference, to the average Rhode Islander with this shake-up now mid-session? With he's big labor, much more so than the Senate President. But do you expect that we'll see anything of any magnitude with the shakeup?
I think we will. I think the governor's proposal to provide free college tuition to all Rhode Islanders going forward, I think that's endangered mightily.
Did you read the Go Local piece today?
Of course I did. Of course, and I think Go Local's spot on. I don't think that's going to happen. I didn't think it was really going to happen anyway, but it had a much better chance to happen because former Senate President Teresa Paiva-Weed was a staunch proponent of this. And I'm not sure that Senator Ruggiero is, so I think that proposal's in danger. Again, that's a tough question. I'm not sure our lives are going to be changed drastically, but certainly things are going to change.
And it was interesting after, again, the shakeup with the announcement made by the Senate President. The Rhode Island Society of CPAs came out and said that their membership wasn't in support of the free college tuition. They had concerns about it. And then similarly, Speaker Mattiello put out a statement saying that, again, the governor went up. You put her on the hot list last week for going up and testifying in support of it, having students there as well. But he said he didn't believe, I believe the wording was, the case has been made at this point for it. Again, all eyes will be on it. It was one of those big hot button issues that, as we pointed out, might be in peril at this point.
Sure, and it just seems like I do tend to agree with the House Speaker. It does seem like this has been happening way too fast. This is a major entitlement program that we'll be creating in Rhode Island. And I think it is wise if we take a step back and study this a lot more than we have, because there are going to be unintended consequences if we do this.
Now, you'd had Governor Raimondo on the hot list last week. You put her on the not list this week.
Yeah, she's not hot this week. Water seeks its own level. No, the reason I put her on the not hot list this week is because She lost her biggest legislative ally.
Yeah.
President Teresa Paiva, former Senate President, being gone doesn't help her. She was her top cheerleader. So the fact that Paiva taken that job in the private sector, I think hurts the governor's pull on Smith Hill.
And especially mid-cycle, as we had pointed out, we had numerous sources up there tell us that Raimundo's former legislative director, kind of chief, one of her top advisors, David Cruz, going up to the State House and basically asking, please stay through this budget process.
Right.
I mean, that does toss everything. I mean, we talk about to the average Rhode Islander, maybe you might not see monumental shifts, but in terms of the power structure and how that budget's going to play out,
big.
that is in fact big. So, for the governor, as you said, it was a win for the former Senate president to be going to a well-paying job at the Hospital Association, but for the governor, losing that ally was
it's a loss for her.
Was a loss
Absolutely.
for her. Let's go through some other hot items on your list this week. You had Squad Locker, a Rhode Island company.
Yeah, it's great to see a Rhode Island company kind of innovative, partnering up with another Rhode Island company and creating jobs. Sure, I think that's a good business story. Absolutely.
And they're teaming up in its Sports Engine, who is an NBC Sports Group, so that's big. I mean, that's monumental in terms of, I think they're outfitting youth apparel for youth teams.
Sure, and it's not just this contract that, fortune begets fortune, so I think we're going to see bright things from them.
Okay, that's a bright spot in the Rhode Island business world.
Absolutely.
Let's go to the not hot list for a second.
Sure.
Charles Deno, Prov Plan.
Yeah, Mr. Deno pled guilty to embezzlement, so I think that's definitely not hot when you use your position at a company, at a nonprofit like that for your own personal gain. I think that's is not hot as you could possibly get, because it's just another example of someone using their position to benefit themselves, not the people that they're supposed to be benefiting. And I think it contributes to the cynicism we see in Rhode Island. A lot of people say, why are Rhode Islanders so cynical? Because of people like this guy. That's the reason.
And it wasn't government; it was a nonprofit.
A nonprofit,
but
sure.
Still, it's a nonprofit Prov Plan.
With federal funding, they get funding from the Department of Education.
Yes.
So it's a misuse of government funds yet again in Rhode Island. So it contributes to the cynicism and to the negativity.
So we'll see.
My point is, it just shows that stuff is not unfounded.
No, I mean it was $740,000, I believe, in total. The sentencing is going to be soon. I don't know. It's still a few weeks away, but we'll be keeping an eye on that, because I think folks also like to know. Okay, well, what are the ramifications?
There should be serious ramifications.
He pled guilty. I mean, he came forth and said, I don't know if it was gambling. That was the excuse, but again, all eyes. Everyone wants to know.
There's no excuse.
No excuse. And you also, let's see, you put Mayor Jorge Elorza on the not hot list.
Yeah, it just seems like the mayor loves to talk, and he's always giving these speeches and these press conferences, but it's never backed up. And I thought a good point was this, his support for undocumented immigrants, or some more conservative folks would call them illegal immigrants. He said that he's a staunch supporter of these folks, yet he hasn't used his bully pulpit to back the community
Community Safety Act. And that the statement that Mike Arrojo made this week, and a lot of back and forth in social media, but he came forth. Now this is with Rhode Island Jobs with Justice. He said there were so many provisions in the Community Safety Act that he said if the mayor wanted to go forth and enact, would actually help the most vulnerable here in Rhode Island.
And I think he makes a great point, right? Instead of just talking about it, actually do it. Now, I'm not necessarily a proponent of the Community Safety Act, but I think that if someone tells us that they're a proponent of illegal immigration or undocumented immigrants, whatever you want to term these people, I think you should, back it up with action. And I don't think that the mayor has done that. And it's not just this, it's also the fact that we're studying everything in Providence. I mean, here we are, we're over halfway through his tenure as mayor, and he still hasn't come up with a plan to solve the entitlement reform. The liabilities in Providence are sinking us, and all we hear about is how we're studying. At some point, we've got to stop studying. We've got to start correcting these problems.
That is true.
I mean, the mayor asked for this job. He campaigned, he begged people to vote for him. So I think it's not too much to ask for him to actually govern, as opposed to just kick the can down the road.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. We are in cycle for 18, both at the governor's and mayoral level, who will be tossing their hats in the ring, what the discussion will be on that, and whether he can demonstrate how to move the city forward, or, as you said, not address the bigger issues, the elephant in the room.
Are the liabilities. And those liabilities have to come down. Otherwise, all our tax dollars are going to be going to paying those liabilities, as opposed to fixing roads or investing in schools or helping the poor. All these things that government should do that are good.
And so, you give us the hot or not list every week. Yesterday, the healthcare plan didn't pass. They didn't have a vote on it at the federal level. I'm assuming you're probably right about it for next week, but it'll maybe seem like a month later by the time we get to it.
Yeah,
Give us
sure.
your little hot or not breakdown on how that played out at the, Trump care, so to speak.
Not hot. Yeah, not hot for Trump. I did see Wallet Hub, and we had reported on this. It did a study that showed that in Providence, the actual subsidies would increase under Trump care. And I thought that was really interesting, and it didn't get as much play as I thought it should have. However, on a national level, I think the president looks like he doesn't look good in this situation because he campaigned as being this great deal maker and someone who can get things done and accomplish. And he can't even get his own party together, the Republican Party, to put the votes together to pass this bill, to pass his Trump care bill, which he claims will improve health care in America. Now, whether or not it can is a whole different argument, and I'm not sure that that's true.
You're talking about his ability to.
But he can't get anything done.
Yeah.
Right. If you can't govern and you campaigned on your ability to make deals and get things done, you don't look very well. And I don't think the president looks good this week.
So,
but we'll see what happens.
We'll see what
They're
happens.
going to vote later today. Mm-hmm. It may pass.
Yeah. So
and then
we'll see.
And then even if it does, it moves to the Senate. That's going to be a whole nother. We'll be talking about that for months.
So as we wrap up here, as we do every Friday, we're still in March Madness, and your basketball. Who's hot? Who are you looking at playing well in the tournament?
Xavier.
Okay.
Xavier basketball. Yeah, they upset Arizona, who was considered one of the 5 or 6 best teams in the country last night. Here's a team that people were talking about not making the tournament. Small school just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. And everyone was saying, well, should they be in? Should they not? They probably shouldn't be in. Yet here they are in the Final 8. And they're going to play Gonzaga, and I wouldn't put my money on Gonzaga at this point because Xavier is red hot. And by the way, their coach, Coach Mack, has been rumored to be a front runner for the Indiana job. So everything about Xavier is hot this week.
You've got the recon. Xavier's hot.
And there's one other thing too. There's a hockey game taking place right now at the Civic Center.
Yes, there is.
Providence College versus Harvard. Who's going to come out on top? My guys are your guys.
We will have to see. I have no money on the game. I've got no money on the game.
It's just bragging
skin in the
rights.
game.
It's gonna be all bragging.
Could be bragging rights. We'll discuss it next week.
All right.
Okay. Russ Moore, I appreciate you coming in today.
Kate.
Russ Moore, Go Local columnist, who every week breaks down who is hot or not in Rhode Island. Now, this is, again, the world according to Russ, which is great to have him in here and explain why he puts who on the list and the rationale for it. So agree to disagree with Russ, hit him if you've got feedback, but it's always good to get a lay of the land and a little temperature gauge. Again, who's doing well and who might not